Hello, it is I again, Klein Twin, and we're going to do another part of our banana flower dyeing experiment. So in these three dishes are all exactly the same color extract. These are from the red outer leaves of the banana flower. I found with the previous two they gave the most dramatic change in color. And in the previous video I showed you where I'm experimenting with unmordanted yarn, plain, so no acid, no base, alkali. So one has got alkali added to it, base added to it, that's in the form of bicarbonate of soda, just to raise the pH. And then in the third one I added acid in the form of citric acid to lower the pH. So far they do look completely different, but that is on unmordanted yarn, and with some research I've learned that the banana plant has its own natural tannins in it, so it's not likely actually to need a mordant for the color to bind. But just for the sake of experimentation with this one I'm going to actually use mordanted yarn, just that we can see if there's a difference between the mordanted yarn with aluminium sulfate and the unmordanted yarn straight from the dye from the mill. And just as I mentioned in the previous video, the yarn I use is called Harmony. It is 100% superwash merino wool. I get it from African Expressions in Port Elizabeth, who is a subsidiary of SA Mills Natural Fibers. Fantastic product. So let's add to the first one, we're going to add a very slightly heaped tablespoon of citric acid. That is approximately a 10% weight of goods, so it's about 10 grams of citric acid to 100 grams of fiber. Then into the second dye bath, you can already see the colors changing a little bit. We're going to add our sodium bicarbonate, so a very slightly heaped tablespoon. The sodium bicarbonate will raise the pH, so make it more alkaline. And then of course into the third one we're doing nothing, because we want to see what it's going to do. But you can see just on the offset, the one that I added the acid to, the one I added the alkaline to, and the one that I did nothing to. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of a stir. In the unmordanted yarn, the one I added the acid to has actually gone a very light pink color. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Wipe that off, don't want to cross-contaminate. Then into the middle one I added the bicarbonate of soda, which is going to raise the pH, sorry. Of course we all know that a pH 7 is neutral, 14 is very alkaline, and 1 is very acidic. So this I would guess is around about a 4 or a 5. Citric acid's not that acidic, it's more like vinegar. And the bicarbonate of soda is also not that alkaline, so we might get to an 8 or a 9, maximum a 10. Of course the mordant, the aluminium sulfate, is also acidic, so this should be very interesting to see what happens. That's why I like to do that. The previous one I did with unmordanted yarn, because then we're not adding anything to it. But just on the offset you can see the one I added the acid to has already gone much lighter. The one that I added the base to is much darker, and this one has stayed the same. So just here off to the side I have my yarn that got mordanted overnight. Let's get that out of the dish, drain off all the liquid. I don't bother rinsing my mordanted yarn, I use it straight out the mordant bath. Some people do, some people don't. La li la, potato. So in it goes our 100% merino yarn. It is a superwash. I like doing these experiments with superwash yarn for the simple reason that if anything is going to take color, superwash yarn will. Just somehow the dye molecules bind much better, much stronger, much more vividly on a superwash yarn than on a non-superwash or on any other type. Depending on how these experiments go, I might in the future do some alpaca and some mohair, and the silk, of course, which might give us some different interesting colors. So this one is the one that had the acid added to it. Let me just get a cloth and clean my hands. Should be wearing gloves. The mordant's not very friendly on your skin. It's not toxic, but it is there to mordant protein fibers, and my hands are definitely protein fibers, so I do find that it leaves a residue on my hands. So let's do the one that has the base in it, the bicarbonate of soda. As you can see, there's quite a dramatic difference in color. These baths are already getting a little bit on the warmer side. I do have the heat on. Not hot, but they're warm. You can definitely see on the camera, here's already a difference in color between the one that has the acid and the one that does not have, or the one that is basic, that is higher pH. Most certainly there is a color difference. That I noticed also with the unmordanted yarn experiment yesterday. That's why I wanted to redo this with mordanted yarn and just see what the difference is. You might not be able to see, but I'll show you in a moment. Here we are starting to bubble, which is what I expected, because as I said, the mordant is slightly acidic, and you know when you add an acid to a base, when you add bicarbonate of soda to vinegar, it foams because you have your acid-base reaction, and that is exactly what's going on here. It's starting to bubble, which is what I expected to happen. This one is the control. This has neither acid nor base. This is just the dye directly out of the pot. And remember, this color I'm using is from what's called the second exhaust or the second soak. So after yesterday's cook, I took out all the liquid from the dye bath, can't speak anymore, from the dye bath. And that I've used up in all the other experiments. So this, then I added more water, heated it up again, let it soak overnight. So this is all from the second soak. So in any case, we should have maybe a slightly lighter color than we did yesterday, which is indicative of this very last one. You can see it's definitely nowhere nearly as dark as we had yesterday. But we for certain have a difference. Ooh, there you can now see, look as I press it. It's definitely foaming and frothing and bubbling. So that's definitely what I expected here from the one with this bicarbonate of soda in. And the one with the acid in is also a little bit different. So I'm going to remove you from the stand and give you a look down here. So let's have a look at the 3. This is the one to which we added the citric acid. So we've lowered the pH. This is the one to which we added the bicarbonate of soda, so we've raised the pH, and you see it's gotten very frothy, it's bubbling, it's all foamy, the whole yarn is floating to the top, which is what I expected to happen because the mordant is acidic, the bicarbonate of soda is basic, so the reaction between an acid and a base is what's going on here. Which makes me wonder if I should perhaps add even more bicarbonate of soda because it's just going to neutralize. And this is the control that has nothing, neither acid nor base. So we'll be able to see afterwards on the 3, but you can already see there's a big difference between the 3, depending on the acid, the base, and the neutral. Let's just look from this side. The light's all different all over the place. And I will keep you updated. Thanks for joining me on this exciting journey.